Echo and the Bunnyman and the Back of Love. Well, let me introduce you and say a warm welcome to the singer-songwriter from The Vow. He is Graham Trust. How are you, Graham?
Well, I was very well until I heard the Bunnymen playing, one of my favourite bands. Now the pressure's on. How'd you follow that?
I don't know anybody from our neck of the woods who doesn't like the Bunnymen.
Yeah, it's a bit like coming from Liverpool and you don't like the Beatles either. You know, it means you don't like music, basically.
So how did you get into music?
I was born into a musical household, musical in that my dad was, in his spare time anyway, he was an organist and church choir master. So I would have been listening to him playing the piano in the womb. But also during my childhood, obviously my dad was preparing his music for Sundays and what have you. But my sister Barbara, who was 5 years older than me, and you know Barbara, she was heavily into her music, so she bought...
I do know Barbara, don't I?
You do. In fact, you've met me before. You won't remember. I remember. Yeah, I won't tell you when it was, but I'll tell you where it was, and then you'll know when. It was on a Thursday night, State Ballrooms, Dale Street, Liverpool.
Oh my goodness!
Now, yeah.
Wow.
And I got talking to you.
Were you there for the opening night?
Oh no. No. This was just an ordinary, music night. But
it was great, wasn't it?
Oh, it was magnificent. There were quite a few places around Liverpool in those days for people like us. When I'll make us sound like misfits, but where places where you can go to listen to great music. You know, and I know you know those places, but. You actually, I got talking to you because of the connection with Barbara, and you actually bought me and Dave Evans, my friend, a bottle of pills, and we sort of drifted apart, and I then went up and asked you and your friend if you'd like a drink from us, and you were already sorted, so next time we meet, it's my round and I insist.
Was Steve Proctor DJing?
Yes, he was. And he used to be the DJ in the System. Do you remember the System?
Yes. And the Warehouse.
I was at the Warehouse at the last gig before it burnt down. It was Big Country played there, and it's wonderful. Yeah, a great loss that is to the Liverpool music scene, or it was at the time.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it was the night of Dave C's birthday, who actually ran the whole gig, because I used to go out with him, so I was down there all of the time. But we would see the most amazing bands, wouldn't we? Variety.
We would. Oh, yeah. I mean, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Oh, the Ruts, I think.
Yeah. Blue Orchids. You could go on and on. Tears for Fears. I remember them playing there, and it was absolutely rammed because they just made number one, and the tickets weren't doing particularly well until they made number one, and then it was completely sold out. So there you were in the womb, listening to organ music. You've got a sister who's 5. You got a sister who's 5 years older than you. There's always an older sibling involved.
Yes, well, you will have spoken to hundreds of musicians down the years, and they're probably not dissimilar to me. So the older sibling in my case was Barbara. I mean, I do have two other siblings who are older than me, but Barbara was the one who she was obsessed. But thankfully, she was obsessed by great music. So the likes of T-Rex, Led Zeppelin, David Bowie, all of these, the Beatles, obviously, the Stones, the Who, the Kinks, all great stuff. No twaddle in there. So that was all going in. You're sort of like, I don't understand why I have this gift of being able to write songs, but I understand what goes into it, and you're sort of like as a child all the time really. You're this open, empty vessel into which all of this music pours. And I was also in the local church choir as a boy soprano for 6 years, so I've got hundreds of years of pop music inside of me, and that's all mixed up with your emotions and your life experiences. It's all swirled around, And if you've got this creative spark, which I have, it comes out in a completely different form. You know, you create a new piece of music. So it's an extraordinary gift, and as I say, it's not one I really understand. And it's a rare gift. You know, I've met, like you, I won't have met as many musicians as you have, but I've met hundreds of them down the years, and very few of them are songwriters. And of those few who are, not a single one has demonstrated the sort of dedication to their craft which I have. You know, because I should tell you that we're about to release, or next month we will be releasing our 5th studio album.
This is Igloo. Yeah.
Igloo, yeah. It's called Igloo after the studio at which it was recorded. There's a fella called Simon Denny who owns and runs the studio, and he recorded the live session which we're going to hear, and also the new single, My Blues Tomorrow.
Now, you at school, were you encouraged to make music?
No, we had school choirs, and I was almost forcibly encouraged to go into the school choir because, of course, I was in the church choir, so I knew a thing or two about singing. But really, primary school, other than the choirs, there was no musical tuition. They did try to tutor us to some extent in music lessons in senior school, but I've never been interested in treble clefs and bass clefs and all the rest of it. I think music, from a songwriter's point of view anyway, songwriting is a different field from music theory, because there are no rules in songwriting. You are free to blunder in and out of any scale or go to any chords you want to. And I think, this may sound ignorant to your listeners, I think that not having that technical aspect or insight to music frees me, liberates me to come up with, the ideas that I come up with.
I know so many musicians. Go on, sorry.
Liberation through ignorance, I was going to say.
Yeah, well, not a bad thing, because I know so many people who've gone to do music courses, they've been to conservatoires and what have you, and they've always said that they felt as though they have to come away and unlearn everything and start from their own perspective again.
Really, that's very interesting. I was just thinking when you were saying that, the best example of untrained musicians, ones who couldn't read or write music like myself, the best example of those are John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and they did okay, didn't they?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let's hear the first track that you've done for us in session, the lockdown session, and this is one of the sides of the current single, and this is Shay.
1, 2. Messiah complex on a motorcycle. Hey, Dr. Death, who'd be your disciple? Where lives are cheap and death comes free to everyone. You're Robin Hood and an army major. Your mother's martyr and a nation's savior. You don't back down. You just won't back down from anyone. Wandering inciter, terrorist or freedom fighter. Eye for eye, fire with fire. The world's insane until you change your world. Shame.
Cristo on a motorcycle. You save your breath, I'll be your disciple. You stole from thieves, I know you don't back down from anyone. Shame.
That's a vow in session tonight, and that is Shay, and my guest is Graham Trust. The album is on its way. The album is Igloo. Can you find anything at all that inspires you to write a song?
Inspiration comes from all sorts of places.
Yeah.
For instance, Shay. That started life in August of last year. I got the idea for the chorus anyway came to me, and it was originally called Jane, and I don't know anybody called Jane, and couldn't think of anything to write about this person I don't know called Jane, and I just happened to chance upon a documentary about Cuba, and it's specifically about the Castro brothers, Raul and Fidel. And in that documentary, Che Guevara features because he was an Argentinian revolutionary and helped liberate Cuba, depending on what your political view is of that event. And it was one of those light bulb moments. Bang! If I change that Jane to Shay, well, then I'll have something to write about. So that's exactly what I did, and it's not meant to be a eulogy. It's not meant to be in praise of Che Guevara. It's one, as I say in the song, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. But he was an extraordinarily violent man. So it's just my lightweight, rather light-hearted view of some of the aspects of his personality and some of the events in his life, and it's that's all it is.
But he appeared on most teenagers' bedroom walls in the 70s.
I think it's called Shay Chic, isn't it? That's what it's called.
Is it?
All the I know that because I saw it on, I think it was on The Chase.
I learn a lot from The Chase.
Yes, we all do. Yeah. So,
what about The Racing Driver? Where did that come from?
Oh, that's a song called "I Am Immortal," and that's the racing driver in question was Jules Bianchi, who was the French Formula One driver who lost his life following an accident at the, I think it's the was it 24? No, it could have been 2016 or 2015 Japanese Grand Prix. Did he die in 2015? The accident was in 2014.
Maybe he died in 2015. Yeah.
So, I mean, I should, before I answer that one, I should explain, because that's a case in point, what we and I have been doing for the last 10 years, because when we first started off, we were a live band, but for the last 10 years, we've been exclusively a studio band, and I've been writing new songs in that period, of course, but I've also been finishing off little bits and pieces that I left unfinished when I was in my 20s. I was quite prolific in my 20s, and I'm Immortal was one of those. And sometimes songs take weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years, and occasionally, like I'm Immortal and also My Blues Tomorrow, they take decades. So I can't actually remember what the original question was now, but I hope I've answered.
I was just asking you about him.
Yeah, that's it, really.
Inspired to write a song about him, you know.
I'm racking my brain now. I'd been refining that I Am Immortal for donkey's years, and one evening, I think I must have been about 75% there with the song. You know, I'd worked so hard on it over the decades. And one evening I was sat at home and I just started thinking about Jules Bianchi for some reason. And I had a read of his Wikipedia page, and I had a read a few things on the internet. And the missing lines I had in my lyric sheet just came to me, bang, like that.
Yeah.
I finished those lyrics in about no more than 10 minutes. And when I looked at my lyric sheet and read it through, it was just perfection. It was exactly what I wanted. And so Jules Bianchi inspired that song, which was decades old, to be finished. And it was quick. You know, you just never know how inspiration is going to hit you. And after every song I've ever written, I've got this sinking feeling, this depression that falls over me. I think, well, that's the last song I'll ever write, because I can't possibly imagine where is the next piece of inspiration going to come from. But they keep on coming. You know, there's 55 songs by The Vow out there, all originals. So, you know, after 54 of those, I've fallen into the pits of despair, thinking that's the last song I'll ever write, and it never is.
Well, tell us about If Only.
Oh, yes, If Only. That one came to me in November, and the way songs normally come about is I'm strumming my guitar, and I'll suddenly find, oh, that's a nice chord, or that's a nice chord progression, and I'll hear the beginnings of a melody in my head, and then the work starts whereby I craft a melody for those chords. But every blue moon, the opposite happens. Some magic happens in your head, and If Only was one of those, because I was playing some sort of jazz chords on my guitar, not intending to write a song, just playing these minor sevenths and things like this. And this melody started off, and it just carried on. So it was telling me, this is where I'm going. Find the chords for this, soft lad. So that's quite an extraordinary event. You know, it's sort of like it's your subconscious writing the song for you, which doesn't happen very often with me. It's usually, yes, that spark that goes off from your, presumably your subconscious, but then my conscious mind takes over, and I make, you know, it's hard work crafting it, you know, progressing it to where it needs to go. But this was the opposite way. I won't tell you about the actual song itself yet, because I don't want to ruin it for other people.
All right, let's take a listen. This is The Vow, If Only.
A lazy mid-morning slumbers into afternoon. Our last day of freedom will end all too soon. A sunny down evening, a day without rain. If only tomorrow could be like today. A sleepless night dawning, heavy heads on pillows teared, aching from longing, communion sincere. You called out my weakness, I led you astray. If only tomorrow could be like today. We were living a teenage dream, though society despised our youth. That isn't the word of God, just my own truth. And only the lonely know where only the lonely go. And that's in into oblivion, rewind repetition. One day I'll let the memories go. Da 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 do do do. Da di do 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 do. Da da do do do. Da 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 da. Call out my weakness, lead me astray. If only tomorrow could be like today. A sunny dawn evening, a day without rain. If only tomorrow could be like today. Do, 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 do.
That's The Vow, and If Only. My guest is Graham Trust from The Vow. What were you going to say about that track?
Well, firstly, I was going to say that I ought to tell you actually who's involved here, because we had a 10-hour session in which we recorded 5 songs. I know we're only going to hear 3, but it was a long day. So I'll just say that Martin Gilbert was on guitar. Simon Denny, whose studio it is, helped us out on bass guitar, and I'm singing and playing the guitar. Unfortunately, our drummer Tony Potter couldn't be there. That one, If Only, that's the last song, so I'm actually still working on that, and I can assure your listeners that on the recorded version for the record, I will be singing in tune. That was at the end of a very long day. I'm all rather tired and emotional. But yeah, the song itself, what was going through my mind when I was writing the lyrics was it was the last day and night that a young couple spend together before the young man goes off to war. So it is slightly political, which I don't tend to get involved in politics. So essentially what I'm saying is wars tend to be caused by old people. I'm talking about men, really, or middle-aged people, and they coerce young people into fighting those wars for them. If they had to fight their own wars for them and try and conscript their own generation, there wouldn't be many wars in this world. No, that's the last of my... I'll get off the soapbox now.
And a subject that we've spoken about on this show. Graham, tell us about the final track, All the Other Boys.
Oh, right, yeah, All the Other Boys. That was inspired by a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Mm-hmm. How do I put this briefly? The essential thing about this book is it's about the law of attraction, which you can either believe it or not believe it. They have these universal laws, and essentially what it's saying is positive energy attracts positive energy. So, for instance, if you change your normal mode of thinking into a positive mode, and you generate more energy, and you attract a positive outcome because of the positive thoughts encourage you to take positive actions which lead to a positive outcome. And for instance, coming here, turning up at your door, that's a result of lots of positive thoughts which led me to take positive actions. So you can believe it or not. People believe in God. Some people don't believe in God. If you believe in God, God exists. If you don't believe in God, God doesn't exist. And it's the same with these universal laws. So that's really the inspiration for All the Other Boys.
All right, and we're looking forward to the album Igloo, which will be out soon. I thank you for your time. Thank everybody who helped out during this session. And Graham Trust, you take care of yourself. Here's The Vow and All the Other Boys. Look after yourself. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Janice.
Bye-bye.
can climb to heaven at night. Oh, but they're calling me a heathen, 'cause the one that I believe in is myself. From my window, I can hear the world on the go. The cathedral bells are ringing and the choristers are singing in my head. And they sing, why can't you be happy like all the other boys? Why don't you come down from your room, be like all the other boys? The source of all creation, oh yeah. It keeps the universe expanding through the love of understanding the whole truth. Life's a freak show. Should anyone inquire how I know? They'll see the human race inside me. They may even recognize me in themselves. And they'll say, why can't you be happy like all the other boys? Stop complicating everything, be like all the other boys. Why can't you be happy like all the other boys? Why don't you come down from your room, be like all the other boys? All the other boys, all the other boys, all the other boys.
As the Vow and all the other boys, once again, thank you so much to Graham Trust. And it's Nana Cherry after this.